What's going on, everybody? It's Jimmy from Football on the No Show. We have a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking some Aaron Rodgers, COVID in the NFL, AFC biggest questions here, everything all encapsulated all in one show. Make sure you guys comment down below. If you got any other questions, comments about what we're talking about, even if it's not something else, make sure you join in with the show with us tonight. Joe, what else we got to do? Let's kick it.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the No with Jim and Joe.
All right, welcome everybody once again to another episode of Football on the No. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
Welcome back, Noodles, for another edition of Football on the No Show. We are ready to go, and we got some stuff to talk about today. Everything from Aaron Rodgers letting it all out to COVID and the NFL and what that means for the upcoming season, and then, of course, AFC East. Biggest questions.
That's right, the AFC East biggest questions. We've been running down through all the questions for
all the
a
divisions,
bunch of different divisions here. We're at the AFC East. I'm excited, ripped and roaring, and ready to go for that. But the topic that's going around, it's been for the last couple of months, Aaron Rodgers, but past week, he shows up to training camp, a big surprise. A lot of times for other people, and then he gets on the podium and after a practice and spills his guts out, lays it all out there.
Let it all
and
out.
people had said that if he's set in his mind, speaks his mind, he always does, and he lets you know, and he really did. And it's funny because he's got the banners of Green Bay Packers, the hats and everything out, Alson, everything
right.
Green Bay, and then he just tells them the whole story of what is going on. But it was also clarifying of what it was.
Specifically.
Because people are, easily journalists, they just want to jump to, he's mad at Gutekunst for, getting, Jordan Love and things like that.
Well,
and,
more
and blah,
not,
blah.
It was just about not helping Rodgers and surrounding him with more talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he said it wasn't about money, things like that. Again, you throw money at that, and he's felt really disrespected, and that's the thing. He's like, listen, I'm trying to tell you things that maybe you should listen to me what we want to do because I want to be able to win still. I know you guys want to win.
Yeah.
And also he quoted out there that he really felt a lot of the other veterans, and it happens, I think, with organizations. It's not just the Packers that do this. There's a lot of other organizations that do this. He felt that a lot of the veteran players got really disrespected. You didn't get offered by even not offering them another contract when they were on their way out to stay, that he thought were pivotal to them winning and being a part of winning for him and protecting him, like Brian Bulaga, but then also guys on the defensive side, Randall Cobb for the offense. He even brought up Kuhn, the old fullback and things like that. So a lot of key players, that he had along playing with him. And out of this whole thing, it wasn't all exactly. It's like who he grabbed and who they grabbed during the draft and things like that. Mm-hmm. That all transpired kind of after conversations that he had with them, kind of got swept to the wayside, and he felt like as if, he brought it up in it again. He's like, well, here's some money, but we don't want to do this as much. We love you, but wouldn't do that. But then all of a sudden he says, I'm comfortable with what I have, but then Jeopardy could also give me money and these guys, and then all of a sudden they sing a different tune again. Mm-hmm. Here we are. We're like, oh, maybe we'll offer you this one now. Then by then, it's already damage has been done.
Right. And that's the thing too and like he said before, it's not about the money because Green Bay offered him a big-time extension that would have made him the highest-paying quarterback for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And he paid no mind to that. He's like, listen, it's not about the money. I know I'm getting paid well. I'm just asking to have some kind of input in the organization on what direction we're going towards. I want to win now. That's what his bottom line was. I want to win a Super Bowl now. And in order to do that, I've been talking about this since he said February. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even the draft hasn't happened yet. They didn't even get to free agency yet. It was actually in February where he started to talk to Green Bay and said, "Hey, listen, I want to help out. I want to help bring in players for the upcoming free agency. Let me help. Let me reach out to other players that I may be able to talk into coming to Green Bay." Because he goes, Green Bay is not a vacation spot. You know, guys aren't excited to go to Green Bay and live in Green Bay.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So, yeah, absolutely. He wanted to be part of the recruiting.
Well, that was part of it. And then the other part was he kept asking Gutekunst ever since he's been there, I need help. I need more help. Yes, we all know that he's got one of the best, if not the best, receiver in Devontae Adams on one side. But that was pretty much all he had. A lot of the guys that were there, I mean, yeah, Randall Cobb had a short stint with Aaron Rodgers when he was kind of like towards the end of his prime. Before he headed out the door. And then there was a couple of guys that he kind of made better than what they actually were. You saw that the past couple of seasons. Allen Lazard is pretty much a possession receiver who he made even better just because of how good Rodgers is. So, but other than that, he just needed more. And everyone's going to point fingers at like, oh yeah, but look at the backfield he's got. He's got Aaron Jones. Number one of the best running backs in the league right now. He's got A.J. Dillon, who's still young, rookie, but shows a lot of promise. Another weapon that they can utilize. In the backfield, though, Rodgers is talking more about weapons on the outside, weapons that he can throw to, besides Adams. Robert Tonyan is a really nice young tight end that is going to keep developing and keep getting better with this Green Bay offense, but if you imagine Rodgers with a plethora of weapons at the receiving core. If you had Adams and another a decent number two, like a pretty darn good number two on the opposite side, that automatically creates problems for any one defense. And then they can't just key on Adams. You know, now they got to play the whole field. So that's what Rodgers was really trying to get towards. He was trying to not only wanted to be a part of kind of navigating free agency and maybe helping bringing some more weapons for him to improve the offense, but also he just wanted some kind of a say. Like, he's been there long enough. He's a consummate pro, has been to multiple Pro Bowls, has won a Super Bowl ring for Green Bay, and when you have a guy like that who is now going 39 years old. I believe he's going 39. He wants to be more involved, and not to say like he wants to call the shots. He just wants to help develop this team and get them to winning ways.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's what gets lost in this whole trying to – when you hear headlines or you see headlines and you hear when analysts talk about it or things like that, I think it kind of gets misconstrued. I think because you heard about Deshaun Watson wanting to be part of the decision making that's been happening. Then you heard it a little bit with Russell Wilson. Now you hear it with with it was Aaron Rodgers. So you're kind of jumping on this whole thing. We did even a little bit too, and to where you're like, all right, how bad is this? For the team, maybe that if they keep letting some of these guys like your quarterbacks start calling the shots, like trying to be front office guys,
right?
Because this is what it's kind of being presented to us as. And really, again, he's just saying, hey, listen, I'm trying, I love this organization. I love the fans. I love the town. I'm trying to make us all better because I want to win a championship with you guys. I wanted us to do this together. Just listen to some of my input because, I feel like I have a lot of knowledge to bring, and, I'm the one that's going to be playing with these guys. You know what I mean? I want to be able to trust the guy I'm playing with and things like that and what so.
Absolutely. And why wouldn't you want one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league, to help this team grow, help them get better? I mean, Aaron Rodgers, that's all he really was asking for. And now they've come to an agreement on a new deal now. Now they're going to make it, this is his last year in Green Bay contractually, with some stipends that are in that contract this year for him to be a bigger part of the I guess for lack of a better phrase, like decision-making process. You know what I mean? For the franchise. But here's the thing. It's a little too late right now. Now that they've agreed upon, okay, he's going to come back for at least, I feel like for Rodgers and for Green Bay, this was kind of the best situation that could come of it. For them, I know there's some uncertainty at the end of the year because you don't know what Rodgers wants to do by then. You don't know what Green Bay is going to do. So at least now, both parties can kind of have some wiggle room here.
Right.
So now maybe if everything goes well this season, You know, and we know that they traded for Randall Cobb, which you know how we both feel about this, but for a 6th rounder, and the Texans are paying $3 million of his salary too, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But speaking
they still did not even get the better side of that deal.
Speaking of a dumpster organization, but
yes.
At the moment, but anyway, they, you know, that was one of the those players to Aaron Rodgers where like they know each other so well on the football field. He heavily leaned on him when he was in Green Bay. And the biggest question for this transaction too is, does Cobb have anything left at this point? We've seen him bounce team to team since Green Bay, and we haven't even heard of Randall Cobb since he left Green Bay. Like he hasn't even been any part of any offense. So now he comes back home to Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Like, is all of a sudden going to revitalize his career now with Green Bay? Like, is this whole situation going to work out like Aaron Rodgers is hoping? I don't think it's enough. Just like I know that you kind of agree on the same level there, that they could have went in a different direction. Maybe not go for Cobb. Go for like a younger receiver that doesn't really get much playing time, like a Kiki Cutie from Houston.
Right.
I think that would have probably helped Green Bay out a little bit more.
Yeah, somebody that could even have a little more explosive talent for them. That would even be a threat on the other side to get open. You know, if you're trying to double team like Devontae Adams, things like that.
Right.
Because right now, again, when you take a look at it, I look at Randall Cobb, formerly from the Dallas Cowboys, which for me. I'm kind of surprised here because I'm looking back at some of the stats. He had 828 yards when he was back with the Cowboys, which is kind of surprising for me. It didn't really seem like it so much, but again, troubles in Houston, can't really stay on the field. And I just remember him from his last 2 or 3 seasons from Green Bay, not really involved so much in Mike McCarthy's offense and kind of taking that backside. Yeah. We recall 2014, his 1,200-yard season, and 2015, his 2-3 years when he was roughly around 1,000 yards a game, when he kind of jumped on the scene, and here you go. Who's this guy?
He was a fantasy stud then.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, started to slow into the woodwork, and that's where we're kind of like, all right, you know, Randall Cobb, so what? You know, and then we'll get back at him now, too. He's 30-something, 30 years old, maybe 30, going to be 31 pretty soon. Right. So not too often do you see a franchise go and trade for a 31-year-old wide receiver and expect like great, fantastic results and things like that. That's why this trade ends up being, you know, a win deal for the Green Bay Packers here because, again, familiarity with Aaron Rodgers. They didn't have to give up a whole lot. A 6th-round pick for him again.
I thought it was going to end up being a 7th rounder.
Yeah, that could have been even good too. But again, the Packers probably figure, okay, this is probably good enough for them. And again, they swallow the rest of the contract.
And maybe that was part of it.
Yeah, maybe they were like, we'll do this.
Maybe
they that.
Originally said, hey, we'll give you a 7th rounder from. They're like, okay, that works for us, but. Hey, also, what would it take maybe for you guys to like pay $3 million of his contract currently?
Right.
You know what I mean? To alleviate the cap against us. So they're like, bump it up to a 6th rounder and we'll call it a day. So
and like I said, it's not. Maybe it's something enough to make Aaron Rodgers like, all right, here's a guy I know and I can trust. Yeah, but is it one to really change the perception of your offense and you know a drastic change that maybe
and
they might have needed?
At this stage for Cobb. I don't see him anything more than a slot receiver.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
He's definitely not going to be playing on the outside opposite Adams. That's just not going to work. So what does this mean for like the receiving core? How is it going to get jumbled up here now? Because you got Allen Lazard, who has been kind of a staple at that slot position / outside position. Are they just going to automatically kick Lazard out, or are they going to try to push? And I know, like, you know, you got Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who's kind of been up and down, but not really, not really consistent.
Too, right? I mean,
like I mean, obviously it's going to be an open competition once again, but with the same guys. To me, that's not improving your offense. You know, like we just mentioned, like wouldn't it have been better to bring in a younger, more talented, a guy that they could develop even in training camp and make him even better, especially with Rodgers. Like Rodgers is going to accelerate your game automatically because of how good he is. But man, I just think, I mean, I know you're on the same kind of boat here, but I just think they could have done a little bit different. And there's still time. They maybe, listen, there's going to be guys that are going to get cut, that maybe a couple surprise cuts that could be receivers from other teams as training camp goes on. And we know as we get closer to the end of the the month of August, there's going to be big-time cuts, and there might be a few surprise players that get cut in that position that maybe Green Bay could scoop up later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you want to take a look at the when we were talking about the contract here. Here's take a look at what has happened here with the changes here. Now, new stipulations within this contract here. He was set to be going to 2023. Now they shortened the length up here, so now they're going to be able to look at the contract, and it'll be adjusted to create additional cap space at 2020 and possibly. But again, he won't lose any income on that whole deal either. So he's basically getting guaranteed all that money, and then he says, hey, after we make these changes, let's see how we're looking. Maybe I'll stick around or not. Right now, it seems like he's ready to still just move on here. We're just trying to get through this season. It says here they are not allowed to tag him either in this point, too, either as well. And also... it says here it'll be adjusted, and then mechanisms to be put in place to address Rodgers' issues. All right, so what is that? All right, there you go. Mechanisms, and that's where the wording. You want to talk about wording with contracts, where they just basically say, "Well, this is where he adds his advice and whatever he wants here," and they're like, "We're going to take in consideration, and then we'll move forward." And maybe it happens. Who knows?
And that's the thing
seen,
too.
In other, let's say other sports, LeBron James, things like that,
NBA,
put his guys. This is who I want. I want this coach in here, and I want this to happen. It's gone right for some, but then others not so well.
The deciding factor of all this, after everything is taken place, and now that we know Rodgers is definitely returning, he's going to play this year out with Green Bay. There's got to be a huge sigh of relief, one, in Green Bay.
Oh, absolutely.
And two, at the end of the year, I don't think there's going to be any quick decisions by either side. Mm-hmm. I feel like Rodgers is going to want to see what they do early in the offseason. Like when free agency hits, you know what I mean? Are they keen on a certain receiver that's available? Or as the draft approaches? And I feel like this is why he wants to be involved a little bit, is he wants to hear from them, like, okay, what's the game plan for this offseason? Mm-hmm. Are you going to key on a talented wide receiver for this offense to keep us going forward? Or are you just kind of looking for your own way of developing this team? Like, are you only going to be looking at offensive line, which does need to be addressed a little bit, but still, are you going to go back to defense? Because we know that for the last couple of years, they've been heavily focused on improving that defense and neglecting that offensive side. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're going to kind of find out in the end. Will Rodgers just kind of go up in free agency and be like, hey, any team wants me, I'm available? Or will he like kind of wait it out and say, let's see what you guys got. What do you want to do? What's going to happen?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, that's big news of what's been going on there, the Aaron Rodgers saga. And
now it's over. Finally, right? We finally got a resolution.
They talk about getting back to normalcy.
Oh, boy.
The COVID in the NFL now, what's been going on with the world and COVID restrictions.
A whole lot.
We're going to touch on this a little bit, too, because it is affecting the way the NFL is going to be ruling on some of these things now. And in compliance with now what the CDC is changing now with issues here, to where they're saying now in all federal buildings, federal employees have to remask now, again, even if you're vaccinated or not, and change status of schools and other indoor public places, too. So we're seeing a little bit of a retraction with everything. So the NFL, based on that and then what had happened, transpired the previous year, trying to crack down a little harder to try and help not even the world, but themselves to get back to making money and doing what they do best by trying to urge teams and players to get vaccinated so we can move forward, because we're allowing fans into the stadiums now. We're all getting tickets. Joe and I got tickets now. We're ready to go see a game this year. We're excited.
Football.
And but now teams are saying 85% of you have to be vaccinated, and we're saying that the funny thing about it is, like, we're not demanding you to, but we highly recommend that you do. But, we are seeing jobs terminated because of coaches getting terminated for not having it done. Pressure on players from former players. Michael Irving, one of them on for the Cowboys.
He can't believe Dallas isn't 100% vaccinated.
But also now Ron Rivera comes out and says, about players not being vaccinated.
And I can understand Ron Rivera's point of view because he got sick from it and he was deathly ill, and then he came back and he survived it. But and that's what his stance is like. Hey, listen, I went through it. It is not fun. If you get vaccinated, does it make it 100% that you're not going to get it? No. But it definitely heightens it to a level of above 90%, like 95%, 93%, I forgot what it is, to a level where your body can actually fend it off, you know what I mean, with the vaccination. Now, everybody has their own opinions on it, and it's being shown by the players on team to team to team. So that's where the rift starts to get created, because the NFL is kind of they're saying it nicely, right? They're what they're doing is like, hey, listen, we really encourage you to get vaccinated because that way we can turn to normalcy in the NFL season. Look at what happened last year, where we had a lot of rescheduled games last second, a couple of cancellations. You know what I mean? There was a lot of issues with the scheduling and everything last year. They want to avoid all that this year. And what could really help and boost it in relief is getting vaccinated. So, and that's their stance. But they take it a little step farther, and they're saying, hey, listen, if a team, if you have a minor breakout, if you have a couple people, a coach, and a couple players or whatever, all right, we want to try to reschedule. You know what I mean? Because we don't know how many other guys, blah, blah. And, yes, testing is still going to happen for the guys, especially that aren't vaccinated, I would believe. But this is what the problem is if they can't reschedule the game, there's excuse me. Now you're going to be forced with a forfeit. It's just an L in the column now. If they can't reschedule the game and can't figure out a resolution, now you're going to forfeit the game. And that's where it really hurts. It hurts the players' pockets. They won't get paid for that game, just like you were saying. You and me were talking about it off the air. They'll miss out on their payday for that week. And that's where we wonder where this is going to head. Like if you're right now, I believe the stats are 86.3% of the league is vaccinated. 10 teams are close to 100%. So we don't know who those 10 teams are, but again, they got a long ways to go to get to 100%. And yeah, they're kind of getting there slowly but surely now, but there's still players out there that are dead set, do not want the shot, and that's fine. But my thing is with all this bickering back and forth, I don't want the shot, but I want to play. Well, here's the thing. If you don't want to harm your team and say, God forbid that anybody gets COVID-19, okay, for this upcoming season. Like Hopkins is really against getting the shot. And we've heard his whole argument about it. He wants to play but doesn't want to get the shot. Well, here's the thing. You got two choices really. And if you want to go forward with this season and keep it normal like it used to be or as normal as possible, get the vaccination. Then there you go. It's done. I know you don't want it, but don't you want to get that big payday and not have to worry about nothing? If you don't, you can. This year, they are allowing players to opt out this year. So if you are that dead set against getting the shot, then just opt out for the season. You don't have to play. Opt out for the season. That way you don't hurt your team like you're worried about or anything, and you don't have to get shot that way. Just opt out for the season. Be done.
I'm happy when I'm playing.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know they usually are, but again, and like you said, I mean, it's one thing; it's everybody else's decision, and we understand that too as well.
Real quick, we got a know-it-all in the house.
We do, and unfortunately, our restreaming is not working in the chat, so I can't see anybody that joined.
I got you.
So I'm glad Joe has me here.
Mike Tackett's in the house,
Mike
baby.
Tackett is in the house with us tonight. All right, excellent.
Welcome to the show, Mike.
Mike Tack is in the house. Does
And
he have
also,
any comments?
yeah, he's got some comments. He's dropping some
Excellent.
knowledge.
Good, 'cause
He's
I can't read them.
So we did talk about it already, but he said Green Bay gives up a
Yes.
6 for Cobb to return, and Houston picks up $3 million. of his $8.5 million deal that he signed with Houston. So
that's right.
They cut off a little bit of money there. Also said that Green Bay management is going to need to swallow their pride and have a closed-door meeting with A-Rod to ask what he'd like to see happen in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Get down on your knees and
I absolutely hate this, but this is – hold on. It continues.
He continues.
But he said, but this is a trickle down from the LeBron James experience. And he might be onto something right here because that's what it is. It's like you got big dogs involved in these different leagues that are trying to like, hey, I should be involved. We should do this. I can get this guy if you let me. Let me reach out to him. You know what I mean? You don't want the players to control the team.
Right.
And that's really what Mike is kind of alluding to is when you give up power, when you give up that control, then everybody's going to want to do it. You know what I mean? I can only imagine in Cleveland one day, Odell Beckham, if he's still there, would be like, "Hey, I should be a part of the decision making process for getting some players in there." No, you don't want that guy running your team. You know what I mean? So I think you got to be careful with it. I think A-Rod has earned. I would say A-Rod is one of the few players that has earned the right to be involved with the organization a little bit. Same thing with like Tom Brady. Tom Brady has earned the right to be involved. You know, Russell Wilson earned the right to be involved. So certain players I would agree with, but not just anybody.
Yeah, and like I understand it too because we had brought it up, but also again after talking and listening to Aaron Rodgers, I kind of feel a different way about it even now in the sense that. Again, he feels really genuine about it.
Oh, yeah.
He was like not even trying to say,
Nope.
well, I think, we should do this and do that, and
No.
I need this, and that's what I want. The problem what you're talking about, though, too, is I'm afraid of seeing what kind of like Mike McCarthy was starting to do, I think, with the Dallas Cowboys almost. Like he was like, oh, yeah, I know my guy over here, my buddy, I'm going to bring him here and be a coach, and this guy over here, blah, blah. And it's kind of almost like, all right, now you got a bunch of 30, 40-year-olds on your team, and you're like, where's the youth? Where's the speed? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want it to grow into that,
But that's
where you're stuck with some of these teams.
But you
We've
gotta
seen some
remember-
of that happen with the NBA.
You got to remember with the head
And
coaches.
the baseball as well.
You got to remember with the head coaches, though, the GM is the top dog.
Oh,
there.
absolutely, absolutely.
If he agrees with you, like that's the thing is,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of give and take with
I hear
those
you.
situations. So yeah, I understand where you're headed towards.
Yeah,
that,
and that's
but
why I don't think it'll ever get to like, oh, this guy's
No,
running the show.
it's
Why,
not.
look, basketball, I'm
Worst.
telling you, I hate basketball now, too. I used to be a big fan of it.
I used to love
I'm
it.
straight up. I just can't
Yeah.
stand it anymore. The way it's played, for one. I mean, look at the Olympic team
The
right
game's
now.
changed.
They're shooting like, what, 50%,
They
30%?
They look like kindergartners trying to play.
Yeah, but
on 10-foot
anyways,
hoops.
pandering to the players. Here you go. You guys get a money share on this. You get this. And
Right.
then, all right, now you guys can pick any players you want to try and come here. We'll just try and get it done and make it work for you.
All right.
You know what I mean? Give it all to them. Like, here, you just do it all. We'll just do whatever you want. That's fine. We'll shut up.
We
You
got
know,
some
we're
more.
just
We
here.
got some more. We got some more from Mike.
Yeah,
here.
sure. No problem.
He goes, how many players are going to use the religious card as a way to avoid getting vaccinated going forward? It's a good question.
They
and
could,
that's the
which
thing.
I
You
can
can.
understand that.
Here's the thing. Bottom line, this is what it is. It's like you got to make the decision, yay or nay. And every play, it's an individual decision. Listen, they can't force you to get it for sure, but they're encouraging you heavily because there is going to be. I think there's going to be fines too. To this thing as well. Like
There's fines
if
you're the one that it comes up positive
Right.
or whatever, and then leads to
Right.
cancellation.
I think it's like a
or things like that.
$14,000 fine.
14.9 or something. Yeah. So
But more than that, they can use a religious card. It's fine. They don't even need to. You can just say I don't want the shot, and that's fine. But the second an outbreak happens, and this is what the NFL wants to, help prevent, is that's going to hinder that team for that week. And you could possibly just take a L, not even play the game. If they can't reschedule you, that's it. You get a loss. So those are bigger stakes that you pretty much don't want to deal with. And I'm pretty darn sure that owners, coaches, they're all on board with getting vaccinated because, and I think a lot of them have already. There's still a few out there, just like players are, but that's the thing is that they are even encouraging their own players, like, hey, just get the shot.
they've
man.
made it mandatory that tier 1 coaches have to. They've made it mandatory. So now tier 1, you're talking head coach and all the elite, offense coordinator. They're there. But then when it comes down to wide receivers coach, tight ends coach, stuff like that, you're
still
you don't have
there.
to. But even though we've seen the Vikings can their coach, one of their coaches, that was a lower tier for not meeting the vaccination requirement. But Mike Tackett brings up a good point about this about religion and stuff. But I know plenty of religious people that still got it done, that are diehard Catholics and things.
Yeah.
And I understand, let's put it in God's hands or whatever you feel you might want. Maybe you don't want the extra, the whatever it might be that's against
maybe
your
negative
religion,
attention or something.
Or even, if it's religious, I'm not putting the contaminants in my body or something like that.
Yeah,
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Right.
Well, this is happening amongst the world anyways. So if you're really religious and I think a godly person, some of these things are happening for a reason. And if you could be one of those people, because I know being a religious person, you would want to take care of others as well. You think of others in front of yourself. You want to try and protect the children and other neighbors around you, and not just let things go. If you see somebody falling, hurting, dying, you don't just walk past them. You want to help them out.
The thing about his question though too is I feel like he's just saying it as an excuse.
Like
I'm religious and I don't want to get the shot for that reason.
Well, some people will because
but my thing is it doesn't matter either way. Whether you say you're religious or are religious and say that's the reason why you don't want to get the shot, you don't even need an explanation. You just make a decision. Because you can opt out if you really don't want to get it and you don't want to feel that pressure or whatever, then opt out. If you don't mind it, just get the shot so that way everybody's appeased and go ahead and play.
Yeah.
Or there is always the other option, not get vaccinated and try to play, but you're running a risk.
I think Logan Ryan put this together really nicely. He was interviewed about it, and he said the fact that he ended up getting vaccinated because of he thought about his children, things and issues that they had, that it would help them out. His wife, I think it was a nurse or something too, maybe, or that would take care of people. So she did and was helping people as well. But the fact that he brings up last year, they had some of these fines still in place last year. So a lot of this stuff still was going on last year. It just didn't get to that part. Now it's being really exploited now. And now if you look at it, now that they added the stipulation that you will actually forfeit if they cannot find that's new.
That's a new one.
Yeah. That's
going to hurt big time.
That would hurt because, again, when you talk about game checks, now.
What if you're in the hunt?
You're in the hunt,
and you need to
suffer
you
that
can't,
loss, especially when you can't sit at 500 anymore. Too, you're going 7-10, not 7-9.
Extra
you're
game this
down
year
on the cusp. That hurts coaches, especially ones that might be on a hot seat. And then again, when you're looking at a player across from you, and he's not getting vaccinated, he might have been the one that caught COVID and spread it throughout some of the locker room. And you did all that you could to vaccinate and do whatever you do to get back onto the field. And now you lost a game check. Say all of a sudden it runs rampant, and all of a sudden you guys can't play the next week too as well, or something
two
crazy.
Game checks.
You start missing a few because now if you're interfering with my money, I know there's problems.
Now it's personal.
We saw that with Geno Smith and things like that too.
Personal.
When you mess with my money and things like that, then you're going to get socked in the mouth, and other things might happen. So.
Yeah, I know, and we got another little tidbit from Mike here.
All right.
He says, when will officials accept that the vaccine isn't a cure, or make those who are vaccinated immune? So when will officials accept that the vaccine isn't a cure or make these who are vaccinated immune?
Immune, right? Well, the thing is I think with this, it's when
everybody
science,
knows
they're trying
though.
to catch up with this. Though, some people think like, well, I'm unstoppable. But
Well,
the thing is, these things are viruses. They mutate. They want to infect you. They change. You see the picture of the COVID out there and everything stuff. Those are things that trying to link onto specific type of parts of your body, and then they change the programming in there. So if you block that somehow, this thing's like, I got to find another way in. It needs to change. So it starts to morph. And as that happens, the science needs to constantly trying to catch up and change and try and attack it again so you can block this. So then I don't think all of these are even permanent. Look at the flu. The flu still goes on. You're still going to get the flu.
So much.
The flu, you get different strands of the flu. So you can get a flu shot and you might not have the right strand. You still get the flu. You got the shot for a different one. You know what I mean? And this is what nobody has been able to find a full cure for the flu.
No.
It keeps going. And
Or
I think
anything
that's the
for
way
that matter.
COVID is going to be. I think constantly they need to change with it, and they're going to. It's still, we've been only a year or so removed from this thing. We were just starting to try and get back to it, but now they're learning with more information as things are popping up and other people coming positive or becoming carriers for the new Delta strand of this disease, that they're going to change things. And the people also have to kind of understand that this is gonna happen. It's gonna be a little hard. You need to be a little flexible with some of this stuff. You can't take person's point of view, a scientist, and be like, "Well, one minute you said this, and the next minute you said that." If I did that at my job all the time, people grilled me for things that changed and stuff. I mean, I work with finishing. If all of a sudden the finish goes bad and stuff like that, I'm like, "Well, you just said it wasn't here, and then now it did that." Well, there could be moisture in there. Oil might have been there.
Absolutely,
what did you do there? Did you do this? There's different aspects. So I think as we go through, I think there needs to be a little bit more patience with people until we figure this thing out.
And here's the thing, too, is this is never going to just completely, we're going to destroy this virus and it's going to go away. Like, everybody's still on the thinking of like, oh, we're going to conquer this thing one day and it's never coming back. No, it's with us for as long as we're on this earth. Just like the flu. When the flu came, it killed a bunch of people. We had to figure things out. Then we figured stuff out, and then every year since then, we come up with updated flu shots and everything. Same thing's going to happen with COVID-19. It's just another level of flu that we're finding. Hey, right now we have shots that are 90+% effective against COVID-19, and then depending on what shot you get, some of those are effective against the Delta strain. And then next year, something's going to change with COVID-19. We're going to come out with an updated shot again. So it's like this is here with us for the long haul. And I just want to real quick read the last part of what you're saying. He said, getting a vaccine is just a formality until vaccinated players start testing positive. And here's the thing, too, is this has already happened. This shot, if you take this shot, Frank Reich got it. He was vaccinated and he got COVID. So this shot does not by no means is 100% effective against COVID-19 or Delta or anything like that. What it does, though, is it prepares your body to help defend this virus. And at a 90% rate against it, I mean, those odds are better than 0%, and let me get this straight. Your body can still adapt against this virus and conquer it and develop the antibodies naturally. It can. Or you can kind of give your body a little kick in the pants and say, here, this will help you out for, if this thing comes after you again, after you the first time. So there's different opinions on it either way, and I get it. Some people want to say, like, but the issue is when you get COVID. I know my parents, both my parents, got COVID, and that's kind of when they started to realize like how serious this thing is. My father to this day is not 100% the way he used to be. He says like sometimes he's achy, his joints hurt, or he has a hard time breathing or stuff like that. My mom had asthma, for God's sake. So early on, everybody said asthma was like almost you were going to most likely pass away from it. And she conquered it even with her asthma. So it can be overcome by your natural body. And then after that happened and they were able to, then they got vaccinated because they realized how crazy of a virus it is. So,
and it didn't matter what you might have done. I mean, I ended up, getting it too. My wife works in the hospital, so I mean, she was in close contact with it. They wear all kinds of PPE to try and prevent you from doing that, but still, it happens. We know Americans need to pump gas, things like that. How do you know the person, the thousands of people that had touched that same gas thing had washed their hands, not touched their face? That you're relying on the employees of that particular gas station to seriously go back and wash down every. I mean, if they had to sit there and wash every time that you used it, I mean, you see it at the not supermarket, but like say, I'll just say Walmart for the hell of it. Self checkout. There's that guy that's standing right there next to the self checkout, watching you check out. And then once you leave, you will wipe you off. Space. You don't see that at the gas station. I know that for a fact.
That's
You know,
right.
I mean, not after every single one is pumping, they had an attendant right there. I'm like, oh, you're all set? I'm here, wipe you all down. So it's going to happen. Yeah, you could do all you want to try and prevent it, and you do all the mask wearing, whatever you want to do, but you're relying on millions of other people to kind of do the same thing you're doing and to try and beat this thing together. So that's like saying like everybody's going to get what I wish for world peace. You know, good luck with that, because not everybody's going to get along all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's never really going to happen. There's going to be conflict here and there. There's different opinions, just like how you guys have a different opinion from what we have a lot of times. I have a different opinion from Joe. We can still get along though, and we just have to say I accept that. You know, you don't think that you're right, but you're wrong. But but we accept that you have an opinion and I have an opinion, and it's the way it is.
It goes the other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't
so there you go. I mean, it's just it's
and then you know
another
what?
thing.
And that's
but
the thing.
It is more harsh this year for the NFL. I just hope I get to go see the game though, because I'm ready to go.
Don't
to this game.
jinx it. Don't jinx it now.
I know concerts and everything. Oh man,
God,
it just better not change things with that. It looked like it got dimmer in here, but maybe not. But so we'll see. And that could change a whole different thing with this league this year.
For sure.
And then also with fantasy, you guys that play fantasy sports, and fantasy football, how the heck would you figure that out now? All of a sudden you're about to go game time or whatever, you got to put a player in, and then all of a sudden, boom, automatically he's not there. You know,
DeAndre Hopkins.
Like
and I'm not picking on Hopkins, but I'm just saying he's one of the players that have come out and expressed his disdain for getting this shot. Does not want to get it, but at the same time, he's like, but I really want to help my team, and I want to be there, and I want to do this. So he's got some tough decisions to make, and then there's other players that are right next to him that are in the same thought process. So like they don't want to get it either, but they also, if they're real true team players, they also don't want to happen to hurt their team going forward. So it's tough. It's a tough decision to make, because I know for a lot of the guys that don't want it at all, they got to kind of juggle, like, do I get it just because?
Right.
You know what I mean? They get over the fact that I don't want it, but do I get it just because I can play and not have to worry about anything, not have to worry about getting fined, not have to worry about getting happen to get in close contact with it or whatnot. So this is going to be an unraveling situation all the way into the beginning of the season and all throughout.
Absolutely. So we'll be talking about it throughout the season. But there you go. There's some COVID in the NFL.
COVID in
Joe,
the NFL.
Let's talk about something positive. And I want to talk about my guys here at Raise Energy. Right now, I'm drinking the grape bubble gum. I've been wanting to try this flavor.
Sir.
You brought this over for me.
Hey,
I absolutely love it. I like it.
It's good.
I don't know. This one's really good, but I really love
That's one of my
the
favorites.
freeze. The freeze is my favorite.
The freeze
probably
is
still.
good. There's a lot of them.
Joe, why don't you tell us what we're doing here with Raise Energy?
Well, let me tell you about Raise Energy right here. The greatest thing about Raise Energy is not only is it a great energy drink, I get a ton of energy when I drink this. There's no crash afterwards, which is amazing, because I've had energy drinks like Red Bull, like Monster, like Rockstar, and I have a little bit of drowsiness afterwards. This one, not at all. I don't notice it at all. Another plus for this is it's got plenty of amino acids. If you're working out, this is what you should be drinking. You shouldn't be drinking anything else but Raise. It's got electrolytes. It's got everything that you possibly need to keep you going. Whether you're working out, whether you're trying to get through your day, Raise Energy is the place to be.
That's right. And if you go to repsports.com, you just hit the promo code here at your checkout and hit Raise Them Up. That's a RAZEMUP.
Type it in.
Raise Them Up. You will get 15% off with your purchase here all through Football on the No Show. That's right. And Rep Sports, too. When you go to their website, don't even forget, they have Raise Energy drinks, but they have Focus, which helps your brain power and things like that. All different types of supplements, too.
They
you
got
guys like to
protein
work
powders.
out? Protein powders, absolutely.
They got even to-go packets of this
which
stuff.
I have examples right
there on the table.
Right there on the table, too.
But yeah, you take those on the go. You can dump them in your water bottle. Boom, shake it up. There you got some Raise Energy on the go. So
that's right. That's right. Raise them up.
Make sure you enter promo code Raise Them Up for any purchases on repsports.com. Also, when you're on there, there's a new flavor out. It just came out a few days ago. It's called Rainbow.
Rainbow.
So I'm just imagining it probably tastes like Skittles. And There's a lot of stuff on there. So whatever you buy on there, make sure you enter that promo code Raise 'Em Up. You'll get 15% off of your order, and there's a lot to look at. So
Absolutely.
feel free.
Yeah, whatever. We like to save you guys money too, and also have you guys drink some good stuff, not that other crap that's out there now.
Just
man.
become part of the Raise Rebellion, everybody. Let's go.
Absolutely. All right, so now let's get to our next segment, Joe. We've been doing this for the last couple of years here, asking the biggest questions with all the divisions here in the NFL. We're tackling the AFC East now this time. Our neck of the woods.
This is exciting.
A lot of teams around here.
When we started to break this down and we started to get prepared for the show, looking at this division, this is going to be fun to talk about because there's a lot of things that could happen in this division.
Oh, absolutely. And then we get amped up when we do our prep about these things here. We start talking like it's our show already during prep, man.
Yeah, we're like, I should have used that. Should have saved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So one question here I have here for let's go with I didn't even list the teams here.
We got
all right,
the
first
Buffalo
of all, we're
Bills.
Start off with the Buffalo Bills
Yes,
here.
sir.
All right, that's right. So my first question here for the Buffalo Bills here now, which others I think are still asking this here right before this season, is can Josh Allen have a repeat performance like he had last year. I mean, because we got to see under Brian Dable and also having Stephon Diggs in there along with him and true number one. Now Cole Beasley on the side and things like that look really nice. I like their little running back tandem that they had there too as well back there. But you really got to see changes in Josh Allen. Less errant throws, getting more touch on his ball instead of just using that arm and getting yet more accurate instead of like, bam, all of a sudden it's flying over the head. You're like, oh, what the hell happened with that? Seemed like it just changed. He clicked.
I feel like his decision-making's better, too,
now. Absolutely. So that's the biggest question here for the Buffalo Bills is can he repeat what he did last year?
And I think, how could you not say no? I mean, honestly, they didn't lose anything. And one of the biggest...
So you want to say yes. I said, can he repeat?
I said you can't even say no about this.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So, and that's what I was saying. So, come on, stick with
me.
Anyway,
let me take it out. Maybe
because my biggest fear in this offseason was because you started to see a lot of people in the need of head coaches, right? A lot of head coaches being interviewed and stuff like that. And with head coaches comes coordinators that start to get grabbed potentially. You know what I mean? So Brian Daboll, who I thought was deserving of even being a head coach this past offseason, I thought there was a little bit of a scare. There was rumors that possibly teams were going to look at him as a new head coach. And luckily for the Bills and luckily for Josh Allen, that never happened. So he's still at Buffalo, and that to me is going to just how could you think otherwise that Allen's not going to have a successful year? And I think he's going to just be better than last year. I really do. He's really grown so much since he's been drafted as a quarterback and as a leader. And with all the weapons now that he is given to surround him with, since last season, they finally have a stout offensive line. They finally have an offensive line that can help protect Josh Allen and create running lanes for the running backs and so forth. So Diggs, I think he's going to have another blockbuster year with Josh Allen. I mean, and the other thing, too, is they also added Emmanuel Sanders. So Emmanuel Sanders is a veteran receiver, but he comes over to help out with this receiving core. I mean, you look at – listen, there are not a lot of big names, but that Gabriel Davis – is actually a pretty underrated receiver, and he's going to hopefully develop even farther to help with this rotation at receiver. And you got Emmanuel Sanders now. Emmanuel Sanders could easily slot in opposite Diggs, be that outside presence like where John Brown used to be. And you have Cole Beasley, the underneath slot type of guy to wreak havoc across the middle. So there's no big holes that got created in the offseason. Everybody's returning. Now they're like anybody that got banged up in the course of the last season are returning, going to be healthy, going to be ready to go. And you still, like you mentioned, they got those two young running backs in Zach Moss and Devin Singletary returning. So a lot to like. Definitely a lot to like for this offense. And I think Josh Allen will succeed once again.
Mm-hmm. Now, what else? What do you have question for these guys?
My next question is I got what position do the Bills need help at? And this is something like if you look at the roster, you say, okay, well, they're pretty solid on offensive line. They got their weapons. Defense, we all know their defense is one of the best in the league. And they didn't really lose anything. In fact, they gained a couple pieces that they can develop for the future. But going beyond that, to me, what really kind of pointed out is tight end. Tight end to me is like one of the positions that they could definitely upgrade on. Now, they do have some under-the-radar type of talent at tight end, like Jacob Hollister, who came over from Seattle. Maybe he can kind of get some playing time on the football field with a guy like Dawson Knox. But if they were to add a free agent right now, there is a free agent tight end right now by the name of Trey Burton. He was formerly with the Bears and the Colts, and now he's a free agent. And he is a really good receiving weapon that you could team him up with Josh Allen to run seams up the middle or something like that, because he's a fast tight end, and I think that would really kind of open up even more of the middle of the field for this offense for Josh Allen. So if I was to make any kind of change right there at tight end, I would kind of look to add Trey Burton to kind of make this tight end grouping a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and I agree with you there too. As again, when you talk about Knox, you're like okay,
he's good.
That's fine.
He's good, but he's not. I don't know. He's just not. He's definitely not a better receiving talent than a guy like Trey Burton to me.
Right.
So that would be an upgrade there. And he's not really a great blocker either. So I mean, they don't really have a guy like that. So you might as well get one of the best receiving tight ends there. Right?
Yeah, and you want to even just add the aspect of Trey Burton that's been to the big game before. He's had that success there in the playoffs, which the Bills, I mean, that's the one thing that people would want to know about this team. How far can they go? It was the first time in a long time that they've actually been able to win this division from the Patriots. So that was a step forward for them. That's an absolute hurdle that they were trying to cross. Before it was just, can we get back to the playoffs? And that happened the first time in a long time, just a few years ago.
Right.
So they're breaking ground there. And now exactly like what position did they need help with? I agree with you there. Probably tight end there because, again, I like the running backs that they have. Their defense is stellar. I really like their defense, what they have going on there, too, as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be the full package for them then. So then, again, the last question I would have for them, too, if you take a look at this team and said, are they built for the Super Bowl? Because this, even going as far as they did, they always had that question looming with them. Like how far can they go? What are we looking at? What do we know about this Bills team? Are they really this good? Because they still had questions. I know analysts, and you would hear it, on the broadcasts.
Don't listen to them.
Yeah, I know, but it's questions, that they're posing. But then
they're brainwashing
other
the people
fans. I know other fans would have to.
I get you.
Think about this. They're like, yeah, they've won this team. They beat against this team. They beat this team, but then they lost to the Chiefs, and then they lost to the Chiefs again.
Yeah, but they were close.
But again, that playoff game wasn't as close as previously when they played the Chiefs in the regular season, and that's why when that game came up, I was like, these guys are built to do it. Right. Hopefully, they have learned something from that first experience,
but they didn't,
and they can go. They just didn't.
Well, actually, I'll say this: I think Andy Reid game planned better.
Right.
In the playoffs, because we know Andy Reid is amazing.
Mistakes exactly that happened, and knew what it took to take down the Bills, but. There you go, Joe. There's laid out right there. Are they built for the Super Bowl? What do you think?
I mean, are they? Sure. I mean, when you look at the roster overall, like we just kind of talked a little bit about the offense and how they're pretty solid up and down. And then the defense is one of the best in the league, and they have everybody returning. Everybody that is coming back, whether they were banged up or they added some new talent there. I mean, you still got both of the safeties in Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. You got Levi Wallace, who is kind of going to, I think, is going to have a breakout year this year at the cornerback position opposite Tre'Davious White, and secondary could be flawless, going into the season. And you also got Matt Milano returning. He got banged up last year. He's healthy. Pretty darn good linebacker there. And then their D-line. Their D-line creates havoc in the backfield nonstop. Ed Oliver leading the way. Jerry Hughes. And Jerry Hughes is getting up there. And that's why I think you saw the Buffalo Bills prepare for that this past draft. They drafted a developmental player in the first round by the name of Gregory Rousseau. He has a lot of talent. If they develop him correctly and he's all in, he could be the guy that just slides right in when Hughes leaves, and then you still got a pass rusher right there. But all in all, I think this team is so solid. And now what happened last year, now they got some experience in the playoffs. Josh Allen and this offense got experience in the playoffs. Now they probably know what's going to take to get to that where they're trying to end up. And I feel like with their roster right now, yeah, I think they're ready to make a Super Bowl run. Now, will they? That's why we play the playoffs.
Absolutely. That's why they play them. Exactly. So that's going to bring us up to the Miami Dolphins here, Joe. We've got a lot of questions for these guys, because
Big
they've
tuna.
kind of it's interesting what they've had since they have had the new coaching regime jump into this team. They've had numerous first-round picks and a bunch of picks overall.
A lot of picks,
in
and they
general.
still got more picks
Making
next year.
trades, getting rid of guys that they've had, and it's making moves. The way the team has been handled, even so, it's very unorthodox, but
it's working now.
It's working. It seems like again because you're seeing that the client, the players that they have and things. Then it looks like they're turning upwards and trending upwards for this team.
Yeah,
it's starting to work out for them. But one of the questions here that is facing this team still, even after it's kind of said that he didn't want to play for them again, they want to request a trade, but then maybe it got changed here, and then maybe he's changing his mind, back on board. But officially again now, Xavier Howard, is he in or is he out, Joe? What do you think?
He's already made a statement, and now he's officially put in his trade request. There was a lot of rumors going around like he might do it, and he was thinking about it. And here's the funny thing is I saw a video of him walking into reporting for training camp, right? Mm-hmm. And it seemed like there was a player leaving the facility at the same time, and they dab up, right? He was kind of like the face on him. He looked miserable walking into the facility. Mm-hmm. He was like, "Yeah, what's up? Yeah, great. Okay. Go to work." So that right there, and with him to come out with the trade request. Now listen, that's all it is a trade request by the player. The Dolphins don't have to trade him. They could play hardball in this situation and be like, no, we're not interested in trading him. He's either going to play for us or he's going to sit and get fined. And mind you, it's a new rule that you can't waive those fines now if the player returns. When they get fined if they miss these training camp practices,
right.
They can't. The teams don't have the authority now to waive them. Now they just it's a rule. Now you just have to fine them. So, that being said, Xavier Howard, one of the best, if not the best corner. Like you can make that argument. He's right up there in the upper echelon, top 3, and as good as he is, and in his young prime that he is. If they were to trade him, they're going to at least get a first rounder, probably 2. And I think if the Dolphins wanted to stack up even more draft picks for next year, they could easily do this. But I think personally, Xavier Howard definitely wants out 100%, does not want to talk about it, doesn't want to negotiate. He just wants out. And for the organization, I feel like they need to – if I'm the organization, I'm playing hardball. I'm saying, no, you're too much of a commodity unless – you can get that at least 2 ones and maybe a few other picks beyond that. Then it might change my mind if you give me a rich enough offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and who would be willing to make that trade, that he needed that badly?
There is 2 teams right now that are being reported. Obviously, the names weren't given. But there's 2 teams that they say are playoff caliber teams that are talking to the Dolphins right now to get Xavier Howard. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a playoff caliber team, mortgage the future. Because if you're in win now mode and you add this guy to your secondary, you might be preparing yourself for that Super Bowl run. If that's all you need. If you don't have a lot of needs and this is the one that's going to put you over the top, do it.
There you go.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, do it. All right. So, Joe, let's take a look at this team again. Now, what kind of questions do you have for the Dolphins?
So for the Dolphins, for a long time now, there's always been that question out there, and I know this has been kind of battered around on all different media platforms and whatnot, but should the Dolphins stick with Tua? It's that simple, right? There's been a lot of rumors about Dolphins maybe thinking about trading Tua to Houston to get Deshaun Watson. That rumor hasn't stopped. And in fact, with the new news about Houston now, all of a sudden now, we're interested in listening to offers because Deshaun Watson, it's not looking so good for him in court as of right this second. So now Houston's ready to listen. I think it's a little too late for Houston to listen now in hopes of getting like what they are looking for is at least 3 first-rounders. Don't see them ever getting that from any team at this point. And there's uncertainty now. So if you're thinking about trading him now, forget it. Every team is going to wait to see what happens with the court case. Is he guilty? Is he innocent? And then after that happens, regardless of whatever side it is, whatever the decision is, he's also going to have to face a suspension from the NFL. The NFL is going to do their own investigation, and then they're going to issue a suspension, which could really hinder him even being traded this year at all. Mm-hmm. So with all those indicators and everything, that situation to me is just like so far off the table. But going back to Tua, I kind of got off topic there.
Yeah,
but going back to Tua,
I
don't know why Miami would even think about moving on from Tua. You drafted Tua in full confidence that he was going to be your franchise, in full confidence that he was the guy. And the guy's literally played one season. Mm-hmm. His rookie year, Ryan Fitzpatrick was the go-to guy there his rookie year because he was still coming back and nursing that injury, and they were worried about it. His second year was the year that we got to see more of him, but he didn't even play a whole season. What did he play? Like started 7 games or something like that and played in 10?
Yes.
So they kind of, Fitzpatrick and him kind of like went back and forth throughout the season and split the season together. So we still don't have a full spectrum of what Tua is capable of. And when in the games that he did play, yeah, there was a few times he made some mistakes, but he flourished a hell of a lot throughout the season. For them to kind of play, musical chairs with the quarterbacks all season like they're back in college, Tua, I would say, outperformed Ryan Fitzpatrick a lot of the time.
Some of them, yes,
last
absolutely.
Season. So,
yeah, and that's the thing. It's your guy that's you're developing to try and be that quarterback.
You need to get him experience.
And you need to have him out there to get it going. And, again, you want to talk about records and things like that. They had a better winning record when he was in there. He was throwing 64% still.
Yep.
Still, again, some other picks here, but still was on the plus side of the picks, unlike some other quarterbacks who were true starters for some of these teams.
Yeah.
If you look back at Marcus Mariota when he was playing for the Titans, I mean, he couldn't stay on the plus side of turnovers, on the turnover battle.
Yep.
And he was given a shot. This guy is constantly battling, coming back from injury, and then now when the chips were down in some of those games, you pull him out and you put Ryan Fitzpatrick in. Yes, it happened to work for you, but what does that do for a guy's confidence that you're trying to build as your franchise quarterback? He's got to learn how to how is he going to react in those big moments? This is what teams evaluate.
Right.
They look at these guys. It's like, here's the big moment. How is he going to react to this? Is he going to fold up or is he going to step up to those big moments? We've seen players, I say Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super Bowl. When that moment happened, he folded. He did not step up to the challenge here, and that's where you knew what happened with him, that he was not going to be the guy, and that's why they moved on with Trey Lance. So Tua,
even though that Jimmy G is the starter,
the starter still, they're going to be like gentlemen
because
about
something.
it.
I know because you mentioned it right now, but Trey Lance. Here's the thing: is they drafted Trey Lance in hopes of how his development could go and what he could be, but right now. He is no way, shape, or form ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's why they announced Jimmy G being the starter.
Right. And now you got Tua here. Again, showed promise of what he could do.
A lot of promise.
And now you don't, have Ryan Fitzpatrick there anymore for him even to learn in from. But now you bring in Jacoby Brissett, and that's your whole quarterback squad right now as it is.
And it's nice. It's nice to have that veteran backup in Jacoby Brissett, who we've seen it in Indy. Him handle himself very well as a starter. And what's nice about this, too, is, yes, Fitzpatrick is gone, but Tua now can rely on a different veteran quarterback and not just have nobody there to help support him and help him develop as well. Tua, and this is the thing with Miami, is I think now they got to just knock off the nonsense. I mean, because here's the thing, is you're not paying Tua a lot of money yet. He's still got to prove himself, obviously, because we only seen him in 7 games or so. But this year could be the year where he kind of explodes. I mean, every quarterback doesn't develop right away and become a juggernaut player. Sometimes the players take a couple years to develop, and then they start to explode. So Tua this year and the other thing, too, is look at the talent they surrounded him with. Not only did they improve their offensive line tenfold, with the draft and with free agency, they went all in. Now they got a super deep offensive line, an offensive line that looks at can really compete and help defend Tua from taking a lot of hits. I think he had, what?
He had 20 sacks at least, and that doesn't count the overall
But that's
hits.
20 out of 7 games.
Out of 7
so
games.
imagine you double that up maybe, and it's like 40 plus. So
I'm looking back at even Fitzpatrick's, and then he had an additional like 15 or so. So there you go,
right,
35.
Tua's at least mobile, and now. You look at what he has now to throw to. Remember last year, they only had really Devontae Parker for the season. He was the only one that kind of stayed healthy. Everybody else was hurt. Preston Williams, gone for the year, wasn't available. So they had to rely on a lot of really young guys to try to, like Lynn Bowden Jr., who they got in a trade after the draft, to help boost this offense. Now, they not only added Will Fuller to this group, who I understand what people are going to say. Will Fuller, he always gets injured. Yes, but if he stays healthy, he could really be a big asset to this offense. With this young core growing up together, they could be dangerous down the road. And it could only take a few weeks plus training camp for them all to hit on all cylinders. Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, and then the newly acquired Jalen Waddle in this past year's draft and not to mention Preston Williams coming back healthy. There's four receivers, their top 4 receivers, that are all going to wreak havoc on the football field.
Make your dreams come true.
That's right. Here now we've got Stephen Bogucki in the house with us tonight.
Really nice.
Yes. He says yes, but the Jets don't have a starting quarterback. Hasn't signed the contract yet, and yet the Jets draft a first round
Pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. We'll get to the Jets in a
We're going to
second
get to the
here.
Jets. We're going to talk about it in a minute, Steven.
Yeah,
in a minute,
yes,
bro.
we understand
We
that.
really
I know.
appreciate you joining the show.
Absolutely.
But,
Yes.
well,
We'll talk
Jets,
about that in a second.
The
We
Jets
have
are
a good question for that, too.
right around the corner. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's get right to it then, Joe. Let's move into the rest of the Dolphins here. So I was taking a look at the roster overall too, and trying to look at some of these things. And what's a good question that kind of faced me? That's not even a negative on the Dolphins, but I did a big what if, I guess.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at Myles Gaskin, and there was times when I was watching him play last year too, where I'm like, man, this guy looks really nice. He's got some sweet moves and stuff.
Good
and then I
player.
took a look at the stats and stuff, and yes, he hasn't been on the field as much, unfortunately. But so my question for them is, now if he can stay healthy, could he be the biggest dual threat here in 2021 season, the 2021 season here in the NFL?
Right,
Because if you
yeah.
looked at his limited time that he played again, which was
Right.
still only about probably 7 games, I think, too, for him, he had 589 yards rushing or so, plus 388 yards receiving. So a nice dual threat there. What he was doing back and forth on both sides of the field, or not both sides of the field, but in the passing game and the running game, but also half the season.
Yeah.
So if you double that up,
Right.
that's pretty explosive. And
over the century
other
mark.
players like Christian McCaffrey, things like that, that brings them up to that type of level.
Absolutely, and that's the thing with Myles Gaskin too, is his first year, his rookie year, never really played. So basically, for the last season was his rookie year, where he kind of got to show what he can do and his talents that he had. And not only can he run between the tackles, but he's also very shifty. He's a tougher running back than what he looks like. And like you mentioned too, he's very dangerous in the receiving game out of the backfield. So for him, if he can stay healthy this year, I think that they've definitely found their franchise starting running back right there. They also added was it Malcolm Brown from the Rams that is more of that power back,
Right.
with speed too. So I think they might have themselves a nice tandem here in the backfield for this upcoming season as well.
All right, so then that leaves the last question here for the Miami Dolphins, Joe.
Yeah, so I got a question here. Is do the Dolphins have the biggest upside in the division? And when you say upside, it can be taken a lot of different ways. But I'm saying because from how young this team is, and how much they've been able to upgrade the last 2 years, to me they have the most upside because they have a lot of young talent that if they are developed right, they can make a big splash as soon as this year, and they're going to be together for hopefully a long time with this franchise. Kudos to Brian Flores as the head coach in helping develop this roster and also helping with them in the draft and free agency. I mean, they've managed to build a team that is so young, probably one of the youngest in the league, and for them to be not only really good on defense and potentially offense, we'll say, because we don't really know about Tua yet. But what's to say? I think they have the biggest upside in this division because of all these nice pieces they've managed to obtain and bring together. Really good defense. We already know how good their defense is when they're all there. They're coming all back, and they also got Benderrick McKinney to replace that hole at middle linebacker for them in this 3-4 defense that they run, which I think is a big get for them for this upcoming season. So a lot of really good defensive line talent, linebacker, secondary is pretty darn good. So all in all, I think that they do have the biggest upside, and I think they're going to make a big splash this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you want to jump right to the Jetsy and we got Stephen Buckocki on here, or do you want to?
We can do that. We'll do that for you, Steve.
We're gonna throw an audible out there.
We're gonna throw audible out there. We're gonna jump to the Jets just for you, buddy.
There we go. That's right. So we're gonna talk about the New York Jets here, quick, and the biggest questions here. I'm going to jump also right to that question then too, because we noticed when we were looking at this too, before Zach Wilson even decided that he's not going to show up because the contract wasn't done yet. They didn't really have a lot of quarterback depth here. So
no, they got James
Morgan. So my question is, did they make a mistake in not signing a veteran quarterback here? Because now, again, you got Mike White back there, and then you got Morgan. And then they shared some reps, in the previous training day yesterday. Yeah. So, again, we were pretty sure that, confident that Zach Wilson's going to show up. The deal's going to get done. They're just changing the verbiage here and there.
They got hung up. There's hung up on a few details.
But, I mean, what did, Sam Darnold have? Like, he had some veteran quarterbacks there working with him.
Joe Flacco.
Trying to help him get there. Joe Flacco, just like that, Josh McCown, that's usually what the teams try and set up with their franchise quarterback. Support system. Go back to him. Hey, did you see what you missed here? Blah, blah. Hey, kid, blah, blah. This is what I've learned along my way. He doesn't have that support system here, though. So he's going into the big city of New York to jump right in. A second overall pick in the draft. A lot of pressure out there. Got to be the guy that turns it around for this team, especially for some other employees of the franchise. Could save their potential jobs and try and make it work here. And people have said, he's a bit undersized here and there. Will he possibly get hurt? You're not sure. So did they make a mistake in not getting a veteran quarterback to sit behind him?
I mean, the simple answer is yes, because when you look at the depth of their quarterback position, really the backup right now is James Morgan. That's who their backup is. He was drafted, I think, in 2020, and in the 4th round. And honestly, yes, he's very young, and the Jets really do like him, but he's a guy that needs to develop. So why wouldn't you try to at least bring in a veteran like maybe Andy Dalton? I mean, maybe they could have brought him in to help, create an open competition with whoever they drafted. Like we don't know now, it was Zach Wilson, but at the time, maybe that could have been a bargaining chip for one of these veteran quarterbacks that were out there and available. I think that was a mistake not getting a guy that could help support the rookie quarterback that they drafted in Zach Wilson, and also going down the stretch. There's going to be times where he's going to struggle. It's going to happen. Every young quarterback goes through it, and with him not having that veteran behind him to kind of go to and ask some questions, and what do you do differently to prepare for this team? What's some things that I need to look out for when I'm on the football field? There's a lot of questions that are going to race through his head, and he's not going to really have anybody to go to besides his quarterback's coach at this point. And it's nice to have a veteran who's been there, done that, has the experience of being on the football field, and knows what it takes to be a professional in this league. So I think they're really going to miss out on that, and I just hope that the kid is I hope they do their best that they can without having that veteran quarterback to help support them. We know that they're going to, but it's a little bit different when you have that veteran to go to talk about anything that you might be questioning.
Right, absolutely. And Zach,
and real quick, yeah. So the question that Stephen Bogacki is asking is it because of guaranteed money is the holdup? No, it's not.
No.
What it really is, and this happens from time to time with rookies, especially like high-profile rookies, is teams will make an offer, right? And everybody knows that nowadays there's no longer these individual contracts that, no matter where you're picked, depending on your position, you get to decide how much money you're going to make. Mm-hmm. And now it's all slated. So wherever you're picked, you're pretty much getting this amount of money. So it's not about money. It's more about the verbiage in the contract. Like, it could be as simple as mandatory workout days Tuesday and Thursday. You know what I mean? And the agent's like, whoa, wait a second. No, my client doesn't. We're not going to do the mandatory thing. You know, we want to get rid of the mandatory workout. Or it could be anything like that. It could be, how many practices he has to make, or so. It could be something silly like that. So no, I don't believe, from everything that's being reported, I don't believe it's anything to do with money. It's more about certain terms that were put in place in the contract that they're not really liking, and they want to just tweak the contract a little bit. But don't be worried. He's a high first-round draft pick. Believe me, the Jets are going to try to get him in as soon as possible. It could be by next week. Everything could be done. It could be in a couple days. Could be tomorrow, for God's sake. So, don't worry about it. Listen, they need him in training camp, and they know that because he is their quarterback this season. There's nobody behind him that's going to help out with that situation. So.
Yeah. I have information right here. According to Spot Track here, they're saying right here that he'll soon become one of the highest-paid players on the team, that he will sign a 4-year, $35.1 million fully guaranteed deal with a $22.9 million signing bonus, according to Spot Track. That's what they're saying. It will count about $6.4 million against the Jets' 2021 cap. So there you go. This is what the contractor's saying. It's a done deal. It's just about he just needs to sign it here. So you'll probably see this tomorrow. We'll see. At least this is what Spot Track, according to MSN.com, is reporting right now, is what I'm getting. And $35 million fully guaranteed. So you want to talk about guaranteed money? They're going right in, and they're willing to pay him one of the highest contracts here on the team right now, when he hasn't even stepped foot at all in trading camp. So,
sorry, I'm laughing because he just commented. He goes, "Damn, he better not get hurt." The Jets. Did he say? I think he meant to say
hurt the Jets.
LOL.
Or it would be the Jets' luck is that he
Jets'
gets hurt.
luck.
Well, that's what I mean. It's because if you look at the other guys, they haven't done anything either. They haven't played an ounce or a minute of a game. So they're just as raw.
They're not proven.
As Zach Wilson would be. It's just that Zach Wilson has a better upside to him.
Oh,
We've seen
definitely
what he
way
can
more
do in
talented.
college and things. Yeah,
Definitely way more
absolutely.
talented.
But that would be the scary thing for the Jets. You're like, oh no.
And here's the thing.
But Blake
too.
Bortles is available now, right?
Right. He just got cut. He's available. Bring him in. And he's still kind of young.
Yeah.
I mean, why not bring him in? He's at least a veteran. Been there,
just
done
as long
that.
as he doesn't teach Zach Wilson to throw with his tongue hanging out of his mouth.
That's right.
He has an issue with sticking his tongue out of his mouth and throwing, and I really feel that's what throws his throw off. When he's sticking his tongue out, whacking it out there, and he's throwing interceptions.
Yeah, you had to be there for that episode. You would have been pretty amused.
That's one of our old episodes.
Yeah, that's
man.
way
the
back.
tongue and Blake Bortles' tongue. That is, I'm telling you, there's something to that. So.
But anyway, that's the thing too. Is like with Zach Wilson, and at this point, I think the Jets should pull the Joe Douglas being the GM, and we all know how I feel about him. He needs to make the right decision here and try to bring in a veteran quarterback. Just at least bring him in. Maybe he doesn't make the team. At least give him a chance to make the team. And maybe he ends up being like Blake Bortles. Maybe he ends up being your third-string quarterback. At least you have a veteran on the team that could help Zach Wilson's development down the stretch of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Joe,
Next
what do
one
you
up.
have now for the Jets? And why don't you rip off a question here
for the Jets? I got, did the offensive line go from a weakness to a strength for the Jets? And I was kind of surprised. I'm not going to lie. I thought for sure. I thought for sure, and I know I haven't paid the most attention to the Jets in who they've acquired this offseason. But let me tell you what, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I really am. So this offensive line last year, all you could say was they really had Mekhi Becton. That was pretty much it. Everybody else they just sucked. I mean, point blank and simple. But now, not only do they have Mekhi Becton, but now they drafted Elijah Vera Tucker, who they traded up a few spots in the first round to be able to obtain. He's going to lock down what looks like he's penciling at left guard. I think he's going to do an amazing job. Very gifted offensive lineman, going to come in and start right away. They also pulled off some free agent moves that I didn't expect. They brought over Connor McGovern over from the Denver Broncos to play center. So you have definitely a veteran center there. And then on the right side, you have at guard, you have Greg Von Roten, who's from the Panthers, an all-pro type of lineman. He's been there, done that. He's a little older, but he still can get the job done. They put him at guard. And then Morgan Moses, formerly of the Washington football team, formerly of I forgot off the top of my head.
Artist known as Prince.
Formerly the artist known as offensive lineman. But Morgan Moses, he's going to lock down that right tackle spot for you. So there's no real issues there. So now, what was a weakness last season and a big weakness, they've actually not only strengthened and made the starting lineup pretty good, but look at their depth too. Also, Dan Feeney comes over from the Chargers, who I'm actually surprised that I'm actually surprised the Chargers didn't re-sign him at least to be a backup. Now they have depth there. They also have Alex Lewis, who can play guard or tackle, formerly of the Ravens. Another veteran savvy addition there. So overall, I mean, I think the Jets defense definitely went from having one of the weakest offensive lines to now having a very competitive offensive
Absolutely,
line.
and that's always been the debate with this team.
And you need it too.
Again,
I mean, you got a rookie quarterback, for God's sakes. You want him getting beat up.
Right, that's where your problem was, and I think again when I think Sam Darnold kind of even got not a fair shake on that point.
Oh yeah,
too, because again when your offensive line is hashtagging still believe I mean, and things like that, and that's your thing, like
right.
Oh we're believing us still, we still think we can do it no matter how bad you guys think we are. That's a problem.
Exactly,
and that's one thing when we watch the wear and tear and hits on these quarterbacks constantly and things, and the lack of protection for you. When you talk about when you got Le'Veon Bell there and some of the weapons you had there, Jets were high, ready to go. They're like, oh, we're going to take the division now. And this hold the brakes, because, again, you had to take a look at that offensive line. And what defense is going to do, well, let's key up on Le'Veon Bell. And what happened with that? He got frustrated because he couldn't get anything done, and he's out the door. He's already gone, And you didn't have any receiving weapons really there. You had Robbie Anderson and
Jamison
Crowder. You know what I mean? So again, that band has been split up and stuff. So now you're getting some more weapons here in Corey Davis. You got the protection, so that's what you want with your new fresh quarterback when he steps out on the field. Especially if some people are concerned about his physical stature. Is he going to be able to hold up to some of these hits and things?
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, that's always a question I think a lot of people ask.
Yeah, no, I know. Coming out of college, that was kind of a concern, but I think.
But I mean,
listen,
as long as he doesn't have injury history, then he should be okay.
No, he doesn't. He's healthy as an ox, so you don't have to worry about that. But the other thing too is, this kid's going to be working out all the time now.
Yeah,
like this is his job now, full-time job. Mm-hmm. So they have him in the weight room, and he's going through trainer and nutrition and all that. So I think he'll be ready. I think he'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. And he's just got to learn, like say people like that don't learn is
don't
like Carson,
take the big hits.
Oh yeah, like Carson Wentz. Just go down. Don't get
out of bounds if you can.
And
and that's the other thing. That's the other nice part of Zach Wilson's game is he's extremely mobile as well. Mm-hmm. So if he does get into trouble, maybe he might be able to get a few yards. But at the very least, get what you can get and either get out of bounds or slide. Just don't get yourself killed.
All right. So you talked about the offense here, Joe. Now let's take a look at that defense here. Now under Robert Saleh, what question do you have about the defense?
The defense, I got one particular question, and I got will the Jets secondary be better at defending the pass this season? Mm-hmm. And this is a tall order because we all know that the Jets defense last year, oh my God, talk about mightily struggling. It was pretty awful. I mean, the cornerbacks that they had couldn't get the job done. Marcus May was like by himself always chasing people all the time, sideline to sideline. He needed more help. So now this season, I'm afraid it's going to be kind of the same. I don't see they didn't make too much of a focus at cornerback. They got a guy returning by the name of Bryce Hall. They also got a guy returning by Blazon Austin. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but and then they in a move to hopefully. Maybe the Jets think they can develop him a little bit better than the Giants and Corey Ballentine, but I'm sorry, Corey Ballentine's got a lot of growing up to do, and not because he's short. Mm-hmm. But all in all, the only thing that I noticed was an upgrade is they brought in LaMarcus Joyner to play safety, but they also have a kid that they really like in Austin Davis, Ashton Davis, teaming him up with Marcus May. And what does that mean for LaMarcus now? Because LaMarcus right now is penciled as a backup at safety. And you can't tell me you paid this guy money to come to the Jets and be a backup. So something might change there. Maybe LaMarcus ends up getting pushed up into the starting job. But all in all, to me, that's their strength in the secondary is their safeties. That's it. Cornerbacks going to be still really weak, and I feel like that's going to hinder them this season.
Yeah, C.J. Mosley, hopefully, again, will be able to play for him this season.
Well, he's healthy, so that's step one.
Yeah, absolutely. And he trimmed some fat. He's back down to his college weight
Which
right
is
now.
crazy.
He's about 230 pounds, and he looks really good. So, and I'm sure he's excited to be playing under Robert Saleh now, too. Before,
100%.
Again, I know he stepped out because of COVID last year, but I know he was also like, I don't want to play for this Adam Gase character anymore. I'm out.
Also, I mean, you think about who they brought in to help with C.J. Mosley, because they lost a couple people, is Gerard Davis coming over from Detroit, who I actually really like. I think he's a solid linebacker. He's not the best, but he's definitely not the worst. So to fill a hole, why not? Bring in Gerard Davis. I think that's going to really help out in that linebacking core, which is needed.
All right, and Steven's out here in the comments with us here again. It says Chad Pennington all over again. Possibly?
No, not Chad Pennington, because here's the thing with Zach Wilson, he has a strong arm. He definitely has a strong arm. He's deadly accurate. Like, if you're going to say Pennington-like accuracy, okay, fine, I'll give you that, because he is. He's really accurate, and he definitely has a stronger arm than Pennington, so don't have to worry about that, and he's way more mobile.
Yeah, I was going to say, way more mobile. Yeah, absolutely. And Chad Pennington is always an interesting name for me for the Jets, because he's kind of he's always like my benchmark now. When I had my argument about where did the starting quarterback go, because everybody's so dead set on trying to get that franchise guy that can take them to the Super Bowl, and if he's not, throw him aside, let's find a new one. Let's keep do this. Find a new one.
Right.
Where's the guy that just kind of you can work with your team and try and blend together as a team and win as a team, and not just the guy that is going to be the upper elite echelon and get you there, and if he's not, boom, see you later. And Chad Pennington has always kind of been that guy, I guess, for me. I remember growing up seeing the Jets and blah, blah, and let's be real. Chad Pennington is not spectacular.
No,
Chad Pennington,
but he was very solid.
Was not horrible, though. He was pretty solid, and he was good, and he was good enough to be a starter. And he, at least at this point, except for when you throw out Joe Namath, he's probably the next in line for Jets great quarterbacks, I guess, if you ask Jets fans. They love Chad Pennington. And even when he left and he ended up going to the Dolphins, was still serviceable for the Dolphins. And this guy is kind of that benchmark for me as where almost, instead of saying the starting quarterback, where are the Chad Penningtons in the NFL? I think there should be more of them around there, and some of these guys get their true shot at just working with the team, staying with the team, and building around him and creating an actual team to win a Super Bowl, and not finding that elite guy, and when you don't, you hit the reset button and panic. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm just the old guy, bitching about on my porch.
Do you have another question for the Jets?
All right, so I have one more question for the Jets. Then. So after it's all said and done and all this, so what's a suitable goal for the Jets to reach this season for Joe Douglas to keep his job? Because we talk about him being on the hot seat. Again, he was hired after the Adam Gase hiring, too, and he was Adam Gase's guy. Kind of was like, oh, this is my man. We'll bring him in. He knows what he's doing. And we've seen some moves that he's done, and some have been okay, but then some very suspect.
A lot very bad.
Yeah. And so then, again, now you hear when the draft is coming, these guys are sold on Zach Wilson. This is it. This is who they got. This is their guy. They're going to go in on him when was even other quarterbacks out there they could go for. But like, nope, this is it.
They're all in.
All the chips are in. Set aside. Robert Saleh's new, so he's kind of out. Don't matter about him. We're looking at Joe Douglas now, and this is where the focus is. Now, with the extra game now that we're going to have in this season, it's going to be a little weird for us. So we have 18 weeks, but we're going to have 17 games now. So now you can no longer sit at an 8-8 or even say like, oh, we were 7-9 now, so we're like close. Now a 7-10, I think, just a little worse or whatever. Last year they went 2-14. So, what is a suitable record, to be improving for the Jets for him to keep his job, Joe? What do you think?
I mean, if it was up to me,
what do you guys think? Throw it out in the comments.
Exactly. Steve, you're a Jets fan. What do you think? Do they think they should hold on to Joe Douglas as their GM? Or you think it's time to move on?
What's your goal for the team?
I mean, if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said fire him because for me, I already started to see. First of all, I saw how he drafted. I saw the free agents that he would bring in, and where are they? They went nowhere to this point. So out of the last 6 years
Even
of
from
him,
Philadelphia. You're talking about even, right?
Yeah, out of the last 6 years, for Joe Douglas, he's traded all his first-round picks.
Right.
That right there, if you're a GM and you're trading away your former first-round picks, the last 6 years you've drafted them, that's an issue. That's a problem.
Are y'all fucking serious right now? Like,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
is this for real?
And that's the other thing, too, is even despite through free agency after free agency, him bringing in talent, losing talent, what have you, and the drafts, what has it amounted to after 6 years? The Jets are still in the same boat that they've always been in. Listen, the Jet fans and the Jets players, they want to compete for this division. They don't want to spin their wheels. So for me, 2 years ago, Joe Douglas should have been gone. Now, this year, in order for him to keep his job, I was surprised that he was still there this season. But maybe the ownership they obviously feel differently and they want to keep him around. So this year, to me, a suitable record for him to stay, despite the change at quarterback, and now you got a rookie leading the way, and the talent that you managed to put on this roster, it's got to be 7-10. That might be a little too high for somebody, being a 2-14 team, but I'm sorry. In order to prove that you've definitely enhanced this roster, I think they have to win a few more games. They got to be 7-10, and no question, that's the only way Joe Douglas keeps his job. And that might not even be good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Steven says here, he goes, I agree 100%. We've been in the boat over 50 years, and then he laughs about it. And, that's the thing.
You have failed this city.
And this is what people would ask the ownership.
Yeah.
If it goes that high, what I mean? So
what are you doing?
Yeah, you have failed the city. And in New Yorkers, that's the one thing, too. I mean, we are diehard about our sports and about our teams.
Absolutely.
And for the longest time now, I'm a Giants fan, so I'm feeling you here, Steven, on this, too. I know we've had a little more success since you in the later, since 2011, but that's been a long time. And even if you look at the Yankees, you look at the Knicks, some of the other teams around here, too, we're not looking so hot in sports right now. You know what I mean? We went from having some great legendary teams to watching our counterparts over there in New England and Boston win a bunch of championships in hockey, in baseball, in football with the Patriots and their franchises, and hearing them being called Title Town and things like that. We needed to stop this shit right away, and we can't have this anymore. I'm glad to see that Tom Brady has moved on to Tampa, and maybe he can turn Tampa into Tampa Bay like they're doing in Title Tampa Bay Town or something, a whole nother triple, quadruple T's, whatever they want to do. But the Jets, they've been struggling, and that's what I'm talking about with the Chad Penning thing. It all comes back to him again. When was the last great quarterback that they had? And you have to look back at Chad Pennington.
Yes.
You right?
Tell me, brother.
How long ago was that? I was a child.
I like it. I'm feeling this.
You know how I'm 43 years old.
I like the
So,
passion.
I mean, exactly. Chad Pennington, you're going back to that. So you want to talk about 50 years? It's been something serious to almost something like that.
Got me hyped now. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
I know. And
Preach,
plus
brother.
It's raised
Let's
energy
go.
drink. It's going to be going, too.
Raising up.
I agree 100% with you, too, Steven. Yes. And Joe Douglas, though, again, we took a look at the Eagles and what he had done. And he whiffed a bunch of times. The problems with that the Eagles were facing was, all right, wide receivers. Who do you got besides Alshon Jeffrey and things like that?
Let's not add anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Wentz, he couldn't throw it to anybody. He felt like he had to do it all on his own, to where he just threw his body all out there and just got damaged.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he didn't really show
And
me
you know what?
anything that was a good idea for the Jets to pick him up.
What's funny is this offseason was different than any other season since Joe Douglas has taken over as the Jets GM, is because I think that maybe ownership said something this offseason. Like, you either need to start turning this team around or find another job at the end of the year, because this overhaul on the offensive line, he brought in pretty deep receiving core. Listen, they're not huge names, but they're all guys that are capable of producing. You know, Corey Davis, listen, he had a pretty darn good year last year with the Titans, and then he ended up in free agency. Now he's with the Jets. Denzel Mims, their rookie from last season, now going to be his second year. He's developing really nicely. And Jamison Crowder's still there. Elijah Moore coming out of the draft, who's one of the really interesting prospects coming out, and I think he's going to develop real nicely for them, more like a Jamison Crowder role. Keelan Cole who we've been high on since he's been in Jacksonville.
Yes, we have.
He's definitely shown flashes of being a legit starter, but hasn't really been given the whole opportunity. And then there's another guy who came from the Patriots, actually, and Braxton Berrios, who I am really high on. I hope this kid gets a lot more playing time this year. So, I mean, yeah, they're not huge names, but I think they're all guys that could really make names for themselves being with the Jets, as long as Zach Wilson can get there for them. If he can create that chemistry and develop and learn that playbook, that's where it's really going to come down to.
Throw the cheese!
That's right, Zach Wilson. Throw the cheese. All right. I'm just amped up, man.
All right,
I'm
let's
amped
go.
up. All right, so that's I think it for the Jets. If you got any questions out there too, we're talking about the AFC East biggest questions.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you for all the questions. Thanks for being involved. We really appreciate your support.
Yeah, absolutely. We are moving on now to the New England Patriots.
Dun, dun,
now
dun.
Here, that's right. And questions for them, Joe. What do you have here now for the New England Patriots?
I mean, here's the thing: is the Patriots did a lot this offseason by far. They really hammered all the holes that they had. They managed to fill them real nicely with talent. And now, here's the thing too: is like we already know what Cam Newton was last year, right? Like he was kind of gimmicky at times. They had to change the offense to fit him a little bit better, and with the RPOs and what have you. But we also seen his struggles. That if you paid attention to Cam Newton's career, that he's always had and has never been able to get rid of. So, and they drafted their rookie in Mac Jones. So that begs the question: should the Patriots start their rookie this year, or still stick with Cam Newton? One more season. You know what I mean? So. And this question has been kind of thrown around because it's interesting to talk about whenever you get a rookie and you got like maybe a quarterback competition going on, because that's what Bill Belichick is basically saying. He's like, well, I got a quarterback competition. And he said in this press conference that right now Cam's a starter, of course, because he's a veteran, right? But he also said that he may not be able to keep him the starter because Mac Jones is looking really good in New England. And despite some of the early on rumors of him struggling and missing passes and whatnot, I think this kid, as soon as he gets comfortable and developing chemistry, and just like any other rookie, learning the playbook, because for the Patriots, that's probably the hardest hurdle you got to jump over as a quarterback. It's a complex offense. You don't know how much they're going to utilize the RPO game. Now that they have a guy like Mac Jones, they could still too, because unlike Tom Brady when he was drafted, Mac Jones can run as well. So that's a nice little attribute that he has. But Mac Jones, he's the perfect Patriot quarterback. You know, when you look at a rookie, this year's class, to me, Mac Jones just had written all over him, Patriot.
Wow.
Because he's a fast processor of information, which that's what the Patriots need. He's a quick decision maker. He's deadly accurate. Those three things. That's what you need to be a Patriot quarterback. And that's what he has. And he's super smart. So I definitely think that not only will Mac Jones beat out Cam Newton, but I also think if Mac Jones, with how good this roster is on paper, I think Mac Jones can also excel as early as his rookie year.
All right, we've got Zach Dooley in the house with us tonight, Joe.
Welcome to the show, Zach.
Here we go. We got Patriots fans now in the house.
Yeah, they're
I
pouring
just
in now.
Spit across the room.
That's it.
All right, but yeah, Mac Jones, we talked about it during the draft time. This is the guy we thought that the Patriots were going to target the whole time.
And he fell right to him.
He did.
I thought they would have to trade up.
I knew it once even that kind of even happened when they pulled out of that trade there, you know, that maybe that's what they thought he might fall to him. They would get him. And it was amazing that it did, though.
He did.
I mean, because he fit perfectly to what their scheme is.
Right, and the one holdup for that draft was like everything was teetered on the Niner pick. Mm-hmm. What were the Niners going to do? Were they going to take Trey Lance? Were they going to take Mac Jones? Everybody thought it was Mac Jones slam dunk. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Patriots were waiting on, because they didn't want to trade above Niners where they were, and they really couldn't.
Yeah.
But they wanted to see, like, hey, if they don't take Mac Jones, we might have to trade up to get him. And that was the thought process. And then when they took Trey Lance, and the Patriots, they made calls.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely made calls to try to see what they could work with, what they could do to help them to get up there. And they did end up not deciding to trade up. So they just watched what happened because Justin Fields was still available as well, and he dropped farther than I thought he was going to.
Absolutely.
So past the Broncos, even the Broncos had an opportunity to take a quarterback.
That's
I don't
where
know
I
why
thought
they did.
They might intercept that whole thing. And
But
they
anyway, Bears end up trading up and taking Fields. Some people thought they may have been trading up to get Jones, but nonetheless, after it got past that point, then people were like, well, the next team that really needs a quarterback really badly is the Patriots, and maybe Jones still gets there as long as no one trades up ahead of him.
Yep.
And sure enough, it's a miracle, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we looked at his game in Alabama too, it's set up perfectly for what the Patriots do. Nick Saban tree too. You can you draw the lines right there where they all meet up. It just made a lot of sense. But now you go and put him into this offense that they, like you said, geared right to Cam Newton. You saw a whole different type of offense here with the Patriots. Yes, they would even change their offense depending on what opponent they would play with Tom Brady, but still they were pretty much like still run the game. If it was running game, if it was effective, they would go heavy run. But then utilize short passes, interior passes here with Julian Edelman, and then be able to get defenses to creep up, and then you hit deeper, like when they had their Randy Moss years, hit somebody that can get them over the top. N'Keal Harry, that's one of the guys that they wanted to be able to get into that type of idea. Didn't really pan out for them. So now they've got Kendrick Bourne here. They've got Nelson Aguilar. They've got the tight ends again. If you remember the heyday, I say, of the Patriots, back when they had, multiple on top, Gronk,
Aaron
and
Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski.
They were about 4 tight ends deep. Now it seems like that's where they're going back to when you get Hunter Henry there. They had the 2 top tight ends in the free agency, and they get both of them.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Like, when we saw the first one go, we were like, all right, well, that's the one they wanted there. I guess they're going to go, Hunter Henry or whatever. And then all of a sudden,
they went Jonnu
Smith first, Jonnu Smith. Yeah. And then they got both. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? And it just kept coming. The hits kept coming, and that's
the thing, too, is
and spending money, something that they weren't really doing before. It was a little out of the ordinary. But I think even part of that is Robert Kraft, since he's kind of been the owner for them and building this team up to bigger what they are and what they were used to be, I guess, earlier on in the franchise. Now they have a winning type of atmosphere, and there's kids now.
Well, they have always had that.
Well, there are adults there though now that only have known the Patriots as a winning franchise before they sucked. You know what I mean? They haven't got to experience that yet. Yeah. So now you got Patriots fans experiencing all that glory with Tom Brady so long, having kind of a down year, even though they kind of just missed the playoffs here with Cam Newton, wanting to get back into it. So these guys go all in on here because you don't know how much longer you're going to have Bill Belichick. Is he going to have another year or so left in here? I think he's going to walk out when he wants to.
Yeah, when he feels like it.
How long is that really going to truly be? I think at one point he could just say, I feel like I'm just done right now. I don't want to do this anymore. Because, again, when you go back and look at Josh McDaniels, he was all set to go to the Indianapolis Colts. But then he stuck back with New England for a reason. And you would only have to think that he's thinking, and what management had told him, that it's going to be your time. Just sit tight. Hang with us, win some more Super Bowls, and then it's your turn to keep it going forward. But when you look at the quarterback situation, 2 different types of quarterbacks. But I'm not worried about the Patriots utilizing their offense the way they want to
the
make
one
it
thing
work
that I'll say is that another attribute you must have as a Patriots quarterback is you got to be similar body type to Tom Brady. You just have to.
Perhaps.
If you look at the photos of Mac Jones in his combine, he's got Tom Brady written up. Now, listen, he's a little bit more athletic looking than Brady did when he was a rookie, but he's similar. He's very similar. It's kind of funny.
It's the story of a man named Brady.
All right. So,
but, yeah, I want to piggyback off of what you were running off of there, too, is I also think that the reason why the Patriots were so aggressive this offseason is I think this is Bill Belichick driven. Went right to Robert Kraft and said, listen, I want to prove that Tom Brady wasn't the reason we were so successful. I feel like this is an ego thing for Bill Belichick now. And by doing so, he said, listen, we got to be more aggressive than we ever have with spending money to get the guys we need to get in place to become that winning franchise once again. And also, we have to do whatever we can in the draft to address the big major needs like quarterback. So, and you saw that. Not only were they super aggressive, which is very unlikely of this organization, they were aggressive in spending money to get the guys that Bill Belichick wants on his defense, and to load up on weapons on the offense. And then in the draft, because they didn't like the quarterbacks that were available in free agency, so in the draft they're like, okay, we'll re-sign Cam Newton just as insurance, and we'll do our homework on all the quarterbacks, and when we find our guy, that's the guy we want. They end up getting the guy that they wanted all along, and now it's going to be fun to see how this all develops as we go.
Yeah, and guys, you're talking about Matt Judon that was out there too from Baltimore. Boom,
crazy.
Grab him. I mean, I think one of the other questions here that has been lingering with the defense here is what are they going to be doing with Stephon Gilmore too? We've heard that maybe he was on a trading block and here or there, but now he's on the pup list. So, like, is he really going to go? I mean. Is there? I mean,
I don't think so.
What would it be? I guess for them if he was going to move on, or is he just going to stick around?
Bottom line, it's more of a contract issue, and the Patriots obviously they've already worked it into this year's budget, like to keep him, but they were looking to unload him this offseason. They wanted to maybe free up some cap space, go a different direction with that position, and get whatever they could. But now that the season is right around the corner after training camp, we got a month of training camp to go, and since Stephon Gilmore's still there, I feel like now the Patriots are comfortable with just keeping him at this point. I don't think they want to change anything drastic right now with Gilmore's situation. Now, if a team called him up right now and said, "Hey, listen, we'll give you a first-round pick for this guy," he's not young by any means.
No.
So when you're trading for him, you got to take on that hefty contract that he makes right now. Which he's not the highest paid corner, but he's definitely paid well worth his well worth his person. So in his playmaking ability, but it would have to be something where you'd have to entertain like a first round pick, possibly maybe second rounder and change or something like that to get the Patriots to maybe pull a trade. And I don't see that happening unless the team is. Like I said, like maybe their starting corner goes down and they're a competitive team and they want to stay competitive, so maybe they pull a trade like that. Just like Xavier Howard is now looking to be traded as well. Yeah.
So I mean, overall, taking a look at this team here, there's got to be just one more final question here for the Patriots.
Yeah, and it's as simple as this: like, did the Patriots set themselves up for a successful season this year? Now, last year, first time they've had like a losing season. And I don't know how long. I mean, I think it might have even been before I was born.
And mind you, losing season like under 500. But basically the Giants had won the Super Bowl with a 7-9. You know what I mean? So
that's a different division.
But I'm just saying that's even like a losing season for the Patriots, like a down season.
It wasn't
where
terrible.
They didn't have 12 wins. You know?
Exactly. So I mean, and that's the thing too is you look at this, and we kind of touched on it earlier. Is all the additions, whether it be the draft and free agency, they managed to fill not just one, but every hole that they had except quarterback. And then in the draft, they got their guy anyway. So I think the world of this roster right now, I mean, you look at their offensive line, it returns back to its glory days. Like, their offensive line has been one of the best this whole time, despite having Cam Newton at quarterback or what have you. But they improved this offensive line from last year. It is insane. Obviously, Isaiah Wynn has been one of those guys that has been unable to escape the injury bug. Hopefully he can do that this year. But very rock-solid offensive line. The receivers, I feel like, are extremely underrated and not even given a chance. Everybody will write off Aguilar because he had one really good year with Vegas, and now they're expecting him to fall off somehow. And Kendrick Bourne, who comes over from the Niners, is a very underrated receiver. Played once in a while for the Niners, never really kind of had a full-fledged starter for the Niners, but I think he's another guy. Like, this is what I mean when the Patriots go out and they get their guys. They've been studying these guys all season. And in the offseason when they were looking, hey, they're available, let's get them. They got him. They got also, I love this guy. He's been on the Patriots since last year, or maybe 2 years ago. Gunnar Olszewski. This guy is the next Julian Edelman. I'm telling you right now, this guy has every attribute like Edelman. Phenomenal hands, runs great routes, is super quick. He's going to be the next guy, the go-to guy there. And N'Keal Harry, what's going on with him? Well, he's on the trade block.
Yeah, that trade block,
they
but
gave
again,
up.
value's not
They've
very
pretty
high,
much
so.
given up on N'Keal Harry. And the problem for me is not only is he still super young and he can still develop, but I think the Patriots used him wrong. I think they forced him to be an outside receiver. And from coming out of Arizona State, I saw him all day long as more like a possession slot receiver because he's a big body guy, not a guy that's a burner. So I think if they switch him to a slot, it might actually work out for N'Keal Harry, but they're looking to trade him. And then running backs. Damian Harris kind of blew up last season. He's definitely earned the right to be their starting tailback. I hope that they keep him as their feature back and not do this Patriot rotation thing that they like to do.
Yes.
And then defensively, you mentioned Matt Judon coming over. Great pass rusher that they've added to this defense. You also you got your guy Dietrich Wise Jr. You got your guy Lawrence Guy as those 3-4 ends. Devin Gottschall comes over from the Dolphins. I was actually surprised that he was available, and the Patriots snatch him up out of free agency to help lock him down at the nose tackle position. And then Henry Anderson comes over from the Jets, an underrated defensive end who was very good, very solid. And then after that point, you got veterans like Kyle Van Noy. You got Dante Hightower returning back from his opt-out year.
Yep.
And you have J.C. Jackson. Devin McCourty comes back healthy. And Stephon Gilmore's still there. So there you have it. I think with this roster, I mean, they have put themselves not only just on the map. Now, the only thing I could think that could hold back this team and maybe kind of derail them a little bit is going to be the production of whoever is quarterback. If Mac Jones is the guy, which I hope and expect he is, I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be so good that they are going to be competing for this division. If it's Cam, I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was last year because that they've added all these weapons and everything, but I don't think he'll be able to give them enough to get them over the hump to win the division.
I kind of hear you there too as well. And like you said, finishing at 7-9 when they had a lot of their players opt out, and then you have this added weaponry.
And they had no weapons.
I mean, again, because if you look at him last year, Julian Edelman was injured for most of the season too,
Right.
and now
That's
he's fully
true.
retired
That's
and stuff.
true.
So getting all of that
And no tight ends.
back, and absolutely,
They
So
were missing a lot.
They could only do better, and the way this division lies too, I know Steven probably knows too, the way some of those teams play. It could go up and down and go sour for those other teams. Allow the Patriots right back into this thing. So, I mean, it's scary. He says here, Patriots suck. The dynasty is over.
Ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
Spoken like a true Jets fan.
Don't be rude.
Yeah. So I don't know, but it could be. But who knows? Again, like I said, this division is crazy. We live it all the time because we're in upstate New York. We hear it. We see it. And I'm tired of hearing the Patriots fans as well. So I hear you, Steve. But that's it. That's our show for tonight. We answered
yes.
or even asked the questions for the AFC East biggest questions. Thank you so much for joining us with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Appreciate the comments. Make sure you guys like the video, share it too as well. Go to our YouTube page. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you're on Facebook here checking us
missing out.
Go to YouTube too. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live. We got a lot of big business moving on here too. Big things happening with this show. And starting next week, there's a big announcement
Tune
next
in.
week. So check it out.
Tune in.
Next week's going to be pretty big. And the season's coming, buddy. Football's coming.
Oh,
We're
I
going to
can't
have
wait.
giveaways, a bunch of other stuff going on. So stick tight.
Bring on the
Definitely
preseason
make
games.
Sure, yes, absolutely.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.